Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Battery Recharge series. This episode is focused on boundaries, healthy boundaries. And so, in discussing these healthy boundaries, we're going to admit that those boundaries are forever changing. So they also go in line with the forgiveness to yourself. Because at one point, you did think that something was perfectly fine and it's cool. It's all right. Yeah, that's all cool. It's all right. Until you discovered boundaries and you realize that's not okay with me. And so how do you assert and affirm what is not okay with you and continue in a relationship with someone? In a professional way, in a way that doesn't burn bridges, because honestly, this crash out thing, it's not a productive method of burning bridges. Does it burn bridges? Absolutely. Crashing out burns bridges. You might get someone who sees it as a cry for help and maybe even feel sorry for you for crashing out, but a lot of people will choose to not be around you for said crash out behavior. So, and I know this, I am not giving this advice because I'm just a know-it-all. I'm saying, yeah, maybe let's not do that. For very obvious reasons, which may not be obvious to you when you don't have boundaries and you're not emotionally intelligent and you can't identify when your emotions are making more sense than your critical thinking abilities. So, boundaries are, that discussion is way more than a 5-minute battery recharge series episode. However, I'm going to go ahead and give you the best that I've got. So, boundaries. This is the reason why having that relationship with yourself is so important. You cannot fake boundaries until you make it. Boundaries should be tied to your integrity and your morality. And that is the reason why I feel so compelled to make these videos. I am on the side of humanity. So, because I do understand that we are in a war, I understand that in war there are casualties. But when I am speaking as a general to my soldiers, I need you to understand that boundaries must be tied to your integrity and your morality, which is ever changing, unfortunately, because once you know something, you can't unknow it. And that is the reason why your mental has such value, why it's so valuable. Because once you know something, you can't say, oh, I didn't know. No, you do know. But it is up to you to decide how are you going to respond and react to what you know. And that's where boundaries come in at. That's why it's so important for you to understand where you're at mentally, emotionally. It's so important. And when you decide that, the boundaries, which is the line that you're willing to cross, it's always changing. It's always changing. You might have not have been willing to cross those boundaries, or you might not have willing to accept someone else crossing those lines until you established boundaries. So have boundaries, establish them, understand them in the way that you're able to effectively communicate them. That's why I say boundaries. I'm going to make you self-aware of the fact that you need to have boundaries, but having the idea, the perception, and the reality of boundaries is way more than a 5-minute battery recharge series episode. But I'm more than willing to expand on that in other settings, because at the different levels that you're at, there are different boundaries that you have. You may be willing to accept something because you feel like, oh, I gotta accept this for right now. I mean, I'm in a vulnerable situation, so I kind of have to accept this. I kind of have to blur the lines of what my boundaries are because of, this situation. I just need to get past this. Boundaries are boundaries. That line in the sand is always going to be the line in the sand. And that's from your morality point of view. Because that line in the sand is already tied to explosions that your emotions have put in place. So when your emotions put those bombs in place, when they explode, baby, they exploding. And whoever get caught and burnt in that crossfire, it burns. But there's always casualties and war. So, that bridge is burnt. Their relationship is dead. And you can continue to move on. Or you can stay in harm's way and think about how that relationship is affecting you. But this is a war. And that is the reason why this information is so valuable. But what's even more valuable is what you decide to do with it.